Chinese Defense Company mga kapatid nalalagay sa alanganin ngayon at bumabagsak no matapos malantad no sa daigdig na kung gaano kahihina at kung gaano kapalyado itong mga missile, mga equipment, mga weapon na gawang China. Kung dati mga kapatid talagang sumusulong sila sa pag-angat. Kasi bukod sa mura, 'di ba? Madali tayo makakakuha sa kanila ng mga ganun. Pero ngayon, dahil nga sa isang pangyayari, bumabagsak ngayon ng share, bumabagsak ngayon ng stocks nitong Chinese defense, no? Bakit? Anong nangyari mga kapatid? Yan ang ating pag-uusapan at ating tatalakayin. Bago yan, huwag mong kalimutan mag-subscribe. Click mo na rin ang notification bell para ma-notify ka whenever na may mga bago tayong reaction video tulad nito. Huwag na natin patagalin pa, panoorin na natin to. Reality check. Yan o. Chinese defense stocks fall.
Now let's talk about China's defense companies. They have been in the spotlight over the past week. Investors were making big bets on Chinese companies.
Yan ay mga investor, talagang tumataya sila talaga, sumusugal talaga sila para dito sa mga Chinese defense company na to. Pero nagbago lahat yan mga kapatid dahil sa isang pangyayari.
Their shares were soaring. That rally ended today. Chinese defense stocks are under pressure. The sell-off hit major players like Avic Chengdu Aircraft. They are the makers of the J-10 fighter jets. Avic's stock price fell by over 9% today.
Nako, ito yung gumagawa ng fighter jet ng China.
Similarly, shares of Zhuzhou Hongda Electronics fell by over 6%. This company makes the PL-15 missiles. Now, Pakistan has both systems in its arsenal, the J-10 fighter jet and the PL-15 missile. Pakistan uses both. They were deployed against India last week. And this is when their stocks shot up.
Yun!
But they failed to perform. And then the fighting stopped. So
yun na nga ang nangyari, no? Etong fighter jet na to, made in China, at etong missile na to na PL-15 made in China ay parehong ginamit ng Pakistan laban sa India. No? Pero ang nangyari mga tol, pumalya. Hindi napakinabangan ng maayos. At eto ang dahilan ng pagbagsak ngayon ng China's defense stocks. Bakit? Sino pang bibili? Diba? Sino pang investor ang susugal? Sino pang investor ang magi-invest sa isang kumpanya na pagdating sa aktual na labanan o pagdating sa, alam mo yun, kumbaga para kang bumili ng insurance tapos kung kailan kakailanganin mo ng insurance, wala pala. Wala ka pala makukuha. Parang ganun mga tol. No? Hindi na pakinabangan. Kaya eto na nangyari. Sablay di ba? Bumagsak. 9.2% saka 6.5%.
But they failed to perform. And then the fighting stopped. So investors who had bet on a longer conflict lost money. Their bet failed. Their calculation was quite simple. If India and Pakistan continue to fight, more Chinese arms would be sold to Pakistan. And on paper, this made sense. China remains Pakistan's largest weapon supplier. China is Pakistan's largest weapon supplier from 2019 to 2023.
2019 hanggang 2023 ang China ang the biggest supplier ng weapon ng Pakistan.
4 years, 81% of Pakistan's arms came from China. That's over $5 billion in sales. China has a virtual monopoly over Pakistan's defense supplies, so a longer operation with India would have meant more orders and more sales for these companies. But that's not how it played out. So the stocks fell. A bigger worry, though, is how the Chinese weapons performed or failed to perform. Especially the
failed to perform.
PL-15 missile. This was used in combat for the first time last week, the PL-15.
First time lang pala ginamit to eh. First time mga kapatid, di ba? Nakikita mo, pineflex, pinaparada, ginagamit sa mga show. Pero eto, first time ginamit sa actual na laban, failed to perform.
This was used in combat for the first time last week, the PL-15. Pakistan fired several Chinese missiles at India. None of them hit the mark. India's air defenses intercepted almost all of them. Several pieces of the Chinese missile landed on Indian soil. In at least one case, an entire missile came down nearly intact.
Ibig sabihin, buo pa eh. Ibig sabihin mga kapatid, kumbaga parang lumipad, tapos bumagsak. Di ba? Hindi na-intercept kasi kung na-intercept sabog yan, di ba? Sabog yan, durug-durug yan. Pero ito, tingnan mo, buo. Bumagsak na hati lang sa gitna kasi bumagsak lang siya. Alam mo yung parang quitis na pinalipad mo tas hindi pumutok? Babagsak lang siya, di ba? Parang ganun mga tol. Di ba? Nilaunch to ng Pakistan papunta sa India pero wala ni isa sa kanila ang tumama sa target. Almost all of them daw ay na-intercept at yung iba naman bumagsak lang. Lumipad, bumagsak. Parang ano no, parang wala talaga eh no. Para tubig lang ang laman no. Pero di lumipad eh, di ba?
In at least one case, an entire missile came down nearly intact. It was found in the Indian state of Punjab. You can see the pictures. This is a border state in North India. And since then, missile debris has been recovered from multiple locations in India.
Oh, ito yung mga na-intercept. Ito mga debris na yan. Yung mga gutay-gutay na yan. Yung mga na-intercept. Pero yung isa buong buo, yan yung bumagsak lang. Supot yan, supot.
There are new photographs almost every day. They show the rear body of the missile and its guidance section. Again, these parts appear to be intact as if the missile never went off. There could be several explanations for this. Maybe Pakistani pilots did not fire the missile correctly, or the missile lost power, or it was shot down, or it just missed the target. Whatever the reason, the result was the same. The missiles proved to be duds. They fell on the ground, mostly undamaged. And this is very bad publicity for the company that makes them. These pictures are circulating the world over. They would certainly make China's defense clients think twice. Who would buy a weapon?
Who would buy a weapon? Sinong bibili ng sandata sa inyo?
That does not do its job.
Tama.
The wreckage is now with the Indian authorities. It is a valuable asset. It can reveal key details about the missile's range, design, and vulnerabilities. This can help India build countermeasures. It also exposes the enemy's weaknesses.
Tama.
For intelligence agencies, this is a major gain. For China, it is a strategic setback. And this isn't the only one. Last week's hostilities also exposed China's air defense systems,
Eto pa.
like the HQ-9 and HQ-16. Both are Chinese-made. Both are operated by Pakistan. They are copies of the Russian systems, the S-300 and the S-400 systems.
Ito yung dapat magi-intercept ng mga missile mula sa kalaban. Diba? Halimbawa yung kalaban magpapalipad ng missile, ito yung magi-intercept sa kanila o magpapasabog sa kalawakan o sa himpapawid para hindi bumagsak. Pero hindi rin napakinabangan ng Pakistan. China-made din to.
Pakistan, they are copies of the Russian systems, the S-300 and the S-400 systems. The
Copy.
Chinese machines are modeled on the Russian ones.
Copy.
Defense experts often describe them as cheaper copies.
Cheaper copy.
But they proved to be very costly for Pakistan because they failed. Indian forces breached these Chinese defenses last week. At least 3 locations were compromised: Lahore, Chaklala, and Sialkot. In each case, Chinese air defense systems were neutralized by India, and that raises serious questions about their real-world performance.
Real-world performance. Diba? Ayan pinaparada pa nila eh. Balikan natin. Ayan Eto sa China. Ayan sa China. Pinaparada nila.
Last week's hostilities also exposed China's air defense systems.
Eto'y kopya lamang doon sa ganito ng Russia. Pero ito, cheap copy. Di ba mahilig ang China sa mga ganon? Cheap copy. Kaso nga lang, eto'y sumablay.
Like the
At hindi na pakinabangan ng Pakistan, mga tol.
systems. The Chinese machines are modeled on the Russian ones. Defense experts often describe them as cheaper copies.
Cheaper copies.
But they proved to be very costly for Pakistan because they failed. Indian forces breached these Chinese defenses last week. At least 3 locations were compromised: Lahore, Chaklala, and Sialkot. In each case, Chinese air defense systems were neutralized by India, and that raises serious questions about their real-world performance. So the market reaction was only to be expected. They were hoping for profits from a sales boost. Instead, They're getting scrutiny after delivering a disaster. You see, when a weapon fails, the damage is not just tactical, it hurts reputations. China clearly has a lot of work to do.
Ano nga namang reputation? Matagal na ito yung reputation nila. Pag sinabing ano yan, China brand, ay China yan eh. Ay gawang China, ay made in China, ay China, 'di ba? Yun na yung yun na yung reputation talaga nila mga tol eh, na nabansagan na silang China brand. 'Di ba? Unlike pag sinabing Japan, ay ito made in Japan to, matibay to. Made in Japan 'yan. Eto, made in China. 'Di ba matagal na yung ganung reputation maging sa kanilang mga weapon o sa kanilang mga sandata, nandun pa rin. Made in China. Yun, sablay, palpak. 'Di ba? Sino pang bibili? Who would buy? Sabing ganun, who would buy? Eto kaya bumabagsak ngayon yung kanilang defense stocks. Sa tingin ninyo paano sila makikipagsabayan sa Amerika pag ganyan? Sa India nga, paano sila makikipagsabayan? Hindi man sila yung actual na kalaban ng India rito, pero mga gamit naman nila yung ginagamit ng kalaban ng India, di parang sila na rin yung tinamaan ng matindi. Diba? Ay naku po. Ano masasabi mo rito? Comment ka na lamang sa ibaba. Hanggang sa muli, ako nga pala si Shobal D. Peace out.